Okay, so Jay, could you tell us a little bit about your journey into fatherhood?
Yeah, so I've got I've got five kids. So my eldest two stepsons, and then I've got three biological children. So I only explain that because when I talk about my firstborn, obviously he's not my eldest son. Um, so when um, me now ex-wife, we were expecting, and I had this vision in my head, and it was like you go to the hospital, you get to 38 weeks, anything between 38 and 42 weeks, you go to the hospital with a pregnant wife, and then 12 hours later, your wife, and your child return home. So obviously that's what I had in my head. 35 plus 6, so just over 4 weeks early. My wife's water broke. 40, yeah. So we went to the hospital. They sent us home. Said come back the next day. We'll monitor you. That's what we done. When we got back the next day, they were like, "No, we're not happy with what's going on. We'll have to induce you." So as I say, this is just over 4 weeks early. Um, so to go through the whole labour process, for me, everything seemed like it was going fine. My son was born, well, uh, she she crowned, and it turned out that his umbilical cord was trapped around his neck. So my wife was told to push. Obviously, I knew the dangers of having an umbilical cord wrapped around the neck. So baby come along, um, everything seemed fine. We had a little boy, which we didn't know we were having. So I I asked whether she was okay. She said, "Yeah, I'm fine." So I said, "Right, okay, I'm going to ring my mum, I'm going to ring your dad, and your mum and dad, let them know what's going on. We've had a boy, everything's fine." So I left the room for 5, 10 minutes, rang my mum and dad, told them we'd had a boy, everything was fine. Rang their mum and dad, same thing. Walked back in the room, and seen my son getting rushed out. He'd gone below, he was getting rushed to special care. And my wife was quite shortly, followed him quite shortly behind. I left stood in the room, covered in blood, thinking, what the hell's just happened? Um, the hospital said I could stay with my son until my wife came out of theatre. So this was about 9:30 at night. So I went down to special care. There was 8 babies in the room, and one nurse looking after them all. So obviously she was quite busy, she didn't have time to sit and chat to me. So I didn't really know what was going on with my son. I definitely didn't know what was going on with my wife. And then I think it was about 1:30, became just knock on the ward door. My wife was out of theatre. Basically said hello, and then it was like you need to go home. So I can't remember driving home. I probably shouldn't have drove home. Um, and I sat in the living room, couldn't sleep. So I painted the living room. I don't know why I painted the living room, but for me, it seemed like the logical thing to do. Went back up to the hospital the next day. And my wife, obviously, because she'd had surgery, was still an inpatient. My son was still an inpatient in special care. And I think like the maddest thing for me is so having a baby changes your life like nothing else in this planet. And for me, I've always been one of them people that I don't want to use the word control because I don't want I mean it to sound like a control, but I like to feel that I'm in control myself. And if my wife's got a problem or my kids got a problem, I like to be that person who can solve it, who can fix it. And obviously, this was like medical problems, and I think it was the first time in my life I felt like I was I was helpless. There was nothing I could do to fix anything. I don't know whether that makes sense. And I know you're a dad yourself. I don't know whether you recognise that feeling because it didn't even start when things went wrong. It was seeing my wife in pain and going through labour and not being able to help her. I think it probably started as early as that, really. And then, as I say, like the next day, I went up to hospital and I went to see my wife. My wife was on one ward, so I had all these emotions going on in my head. Like these things that I hadn't planned for, these things that I weren't expecting. And then I was on the ward with my wife, and she was in a room with 3 other mums who all had their babies, and she'd been left there all night. Like, I'm not having a go at the staff over that. It's just obviously it was the way like the beds worked out
Situation, yeah.
at that time. Yeah, and I felt guilty because I was with my wife and I went with my son, and I knew my son was on his own. So then, obviously, I left my wife to go around to special care, and then I was sat with my son, and I was feeling guilty because I knew my wife was on her own, and it took me a long time to accept the fact that physically I couldn't be in 2 places at once. But even though I knew logically you can't, it didn't change the fact that I still felt guilty because I weren't with my wife, or I still felt guilty because I weren't with my son. And I think obviously that was all compounded by the fact that there was nothing I could do to help either of them. I was solely reliant on medical professionals.
So So I've spoken to a few dads recently, and something I get from dads or new dads and dads to be is they often give me the phrase, "I'm okay if everybody else is okay," and then sometimes, like what you've just described there, when nobody's okay and it's nothing you've done, it's nothing anybody's done, it's just a situation because that is what happens sometimes. And I think sometimes we're not really prepared for that because, like we say, I'm okay if everybody else is okay. Things tick along nicely, and then all of a sudden they don't. So, how did you cope during that time? Was there anything you had to sort of support you? Or
I'll be honest with you. I think to the outside world, I don't know if somebody would have actually asked me, "How are you?" I don't know. Looking back now, what my reply would have been. I think I probably would have like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I just need to be strong for my wife. I need to be strong for my son." I weren't. I weren't. I know I weren't. Which is why I love doing what I'm doing. And even now, like I go onto special care, and I can sit next to a dad, and he's sat in front of an incubator with the tiny child inside. You're like, "How are you feeling?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And I sit down next to them, and I say, "Well, when I was sat here and it was my son in that incubator, I weren't. And this is how I felt, and this is what I pretty much explain what I've just explained to yourself." And it kind of open up a little bit more. And they're like, "Well, actually, no, I get what you mean." And I think for me, my priority was staying strong for my wife and for my son. But at the time, I think I felt like I'd done it quite well. It's only looking back now and knowing how I felt and how disorganised I was, how how much I was breaking inside. I know now, looking back, I could have done things a lot better. And I think for me, I now know that I should have got the support that I needed.